How we doing, gang? How we doing? We're loving it, loving it.
What makes a great man great? Is he predetermined by destiny or fate? Or does he consist of the will to resist life's temptations and snares? True greatness belongs to the one who dares to challenge the idea of defeat. His past mistakes he will not repeat. He sets a mark to meet his goals, and when under duress, he never folds. He treats others as he would be treated, and though he is mighty, he never becomes conceited. He is quick to give a hand to his fellow man. In the face of injustice, he takes a stand. He guides and protects, but he never neglects. His footsteps are ordered by his Lord. He makes no debts he can't afford. He gives God the glory which is his due, and he gives honor to his country too. Great men are made, molded to God's desire, tried and tested, purified by fire. What is it that makes a great man great? In the tales of their story, a leader is made. There is no one quite like Charles C. Krulak, General, Commandant, CEO, College President. Those are just some of the job titles that make up Krulak's surreal resume. But while you may know many of the things Krulak has accomplished in his life, the story behind his impressive feats make him all the more inspiring as a leader and as an individual. Krulak was born in 1942 in Quantico, Virginia, to parents Amy and Victor Brute Krulak. His father, a Marine himself, has been called one of the most important officers in the history of the U.S. Marine Corps. A 3-star lieutenant general, Brute was responsible for implementing the amphibious vehicles used in the invasion of Normandy on D-Day. But while Brute was away at war, Chuck underwent the unique experience of a childhood with a father in the service.
For about my first 6 or 8 years of life, my father was not around. I mean, my mother basically raised myself and my 2 brothers. I think we lived and moved about 28 times before I was 18. Went to 3 high schools in 4 years. Some people know, but most don't, is that I was a high school dropout. I was living in Hawaii at the time, and I was a big surfer, good surfer. A bunch of my friends said, hey, why don't you go pro? And so I did that.
Down the steep and rocky road to the pounding Pacific is a natural water playground that offers the thrill of a high wire act, plus the zip of a roller coaster. All you have to do is hitch your surfboard to a wave, take a deep breath, and then be gone with the wind and the waves.
I was 5'4", weighed about 118 pounds, scrawny looking little kid, and I could surf, but I didn't excite anybody. I mean, who the heck wants to watch this little guy surf? And so I ended up going back to school, going to a prep school up in New England called Phillips Exeter Academy. From there, I got accepted to the Naval Academy before I graduated. So I didn't even have a high school diploma. I was thinking to myself, gosh, if I flunk out of here, if I don't make it, I don't have a daggone diploma. The whole time in the back of my mind was this: I'm a high school dropout and I have to succeed. That's what drove me early in my life.
Motivated by the fear of failure, Krulak quickly developed an ambition and drive that would help him to pursue his goals. When deciding what goals he would set for himself, Krulak knew he wanted to emulate the people in his life who influenced and inspired him.
My father had a tremendous influence because of his high moral standing and integrity. I mean, he really set the mark. I never felt pressured by him to go into the military. He had brought so many interesting people home, people I admired, and they were all military. And so I found myself drawn to their character, drawn to their integrity, drawn to, you know, all the things that make for being a man of significance, and that at the end of the day I decided to go into the military. I honestly wanted to do something that would be significant for our country, and at that time what I could do for my country was serve in the military. And having seen the quality of the officer corps in the Marine Corps, I decided that's what I want to be. I want to be a Marine.
While Krulak decided that he wanted to be a Marine, this would not be an easy task to accomplish. Only the top 10% of each class at the Naval Academy has the opportunity to enlist in the Marine Corps. Nonetheless, Krulak achieved his goal, and like his father before him, was officially a Marine.
Immediately upon going in the Marine Corps, within 6 months of graduation and finishing the basic school, I found myself commanding a rifle company in combat. Went 2 tours of 13 months each, so 26 months in country, wounded twice, grew up really fast.
The enemy struck across the length and breadth of South Vietnam. At Khe Sanh in the northwest, American Marines were surrounded and under siege, depending on airstrikes to hold off a threatened enemy attack.
My early days were filled with challenges. The first time that bullet goes over your head and you're saying, oh my gosh, somebody's trying to kill me. The first time you get wounded is when it really comes home. And that happened the first time on my first tour when I got hit with shrapnel in the stomach and in the arm. This isn't a video game, this is for real. And more importantly, forget about somebody trying to kill me, somebody who's trying to kill the people that I'm in charge of. I have a great responsibility. And so, there are times when you just say, whoa, is this really right? But at the end of the day, I felt that the service and what we were doing was important for the country.
After successfully completing 2 tours in Vietnam, Krulak garnered the attention of his superiors. Impressing everyone he came in contact with, Krulak received one promotion after another. Eventually, he caught the eye of President Bill Clinton, who in 1995 named General Krulak the 31st Commandant of the Marine Corps.
Certainly nobody I ever knew planned on becoming the commandant. I mean, there's only one commandant, When I became the commandant, there had only been 30 people ever hold the position. Well, my prize wasn't being the commandant. My prize was getting the next promotion, surviving. I'm also a Christian, so I believe that, God's will was going to hold sway in my life. And so I just tried to stay in His will and ended up being the commandant. I don't think at any point, when I was first announced, did I ever think the name that the president was going to announce was going to be Chuck Krulak. I thought it'd be somebody else.
I think that this nation realizes that we do 2 things for them. We make Marines, and we've already talked about that, and we win battles. The country can count on that. They can count on us taking their youth, making good Marines out of them and turning them back to them as better people. And secondly, they can count on us winning. You call on the Marine Corps, we're going to win.
The Commandant of the Marine Corps is the commander of his service. I had an operating budget of almost $20 billion. I had 1/3 of $1 trillion worth of infrastructure that I was in charge of. And my board of directors was the Congress of the United States, and the chairman of the board was the president. So all of a sudden I went from, hey, I'm worried about what's going on in the Marine Corps, to all of a sudden worrying about how do I manage this massive institution. I mean, it's like running Apple or Microsoft, except bigger. And how do you do that? You're in with the President of the United States 4 times, 5 times a month. So it's just a lot bigger, a lot more demanding.
While his job was incredibly demanding, Krulak's resume to that point undoubtedly proved that he was worthy of being one of the leaders of the country. But Commandant of the Marine Corps is only a 4-year term. When his time was completed, he was faced with one question: what next?
Yeah, before I even finished my time as a commandant, I was getting job offers. One of them that I really gave a lot of thought to was to run the American Red Cross. I mean, that would have been, in my opinion, kind of in my wheelhouse, to do that. But at the same time, I have a desire to do something I've never done before. I don't want to just say, okay, that's in my wheelhouse, so I'm comfortable with that, so I'm going to do it. So I thought to myself, what what would be interesting, but something I'd never thought of doing and never had any, any education in doing, and that was finance.
Krulak may have lacked financial experience, but his leadership experience was unmatched. It was not long before the worldwide bank, MBNA, came knocking on his door.
I had a friend who, he asked me would I like to come work for him, and I said, I don't know a damn thing about banking, and he said, that's all right, I'll teach you. And so for 6 months I had a very, very sharp finance officer sitting right beside me. She guided me through, how high finance works. And at the end of 6 months, I got a call to come out and meet with the chairman, and he said, how'd you like to go run our international bank? And I said, gulp. I said, yeah, I'll go out and do it. And the very first meeting I had, I brought all of my leadership, I mean, about 50 people who were running that bank, and they were all Brits. So, they had a Yank as their chairman and CEO, and they're Brits. And I brought them into this big office, and I sat them down, and I looked them all in the eye, and I said, listen, each one of you has forgotten more about banking than I know. So I'm going to need your help. If we're going to make this thing go, I'm going to need your help. It took them totally by. They thought this Yank was going to come in there and say, hey, here's what we're going to do, here's what we're going to do. And I turned the tables on them, and I said, look, I need your help. You know more than I do. Every day I'd reserve 3 or 4 hours and just go out through the bank, put your hand on the young man or young woman's shoulder and tell them how much you love them and keep on going. We're doing great. We're making a difference. And we were very successful.
MBNA became one of the top banks in the world under Krulak's leadership. This success garnered the attention of another financial giant, Bank of America. In 2005, when Bank of America came with an offer to acquire them, Krulak felt that his job had been completed and it was time to step away from finance. Yet much like when he finished his time as commandant, Krulak was again faced with one question: what next?
A friend of mine asked me to find a soccer club to buy in England. And so I went out, we bought a soccer team, a premiership soccer team in England. And then the same guy said, hey, let's go for football. And so that's how I got involved with the Cleveland Browns. I'd literally get on a plane on a Thursday night and I'd fly to England and I'd watch Aston Villa play Manchester United on a Saturday, get back on a plane, fly down to New Orleans and watch the Cleveland Browns get beaten by the Saints. And that's what life was like for me. It was, you'd say, gee, this is a great life, what a deal. But I kept on saying, guy, is this really in the Lord's will? What am I doing for anybody?
That question led Krulak to rediscover his roots, namely, helping young men and women to reach their full potential. This was something that he had plenty of experience in from his time as a general in the Marine Corps. But in what capacity could he help young people outside of the service? After many discussions with his wife and family, Krulak decided that he wanted to be a college president.
A good friend of mine said, I know you're interested in being a college president. You ought to go take a look at this little school on the hilltop called Birmingham Southern. And he said, now it's got a few problems, which it did.
The problems that the college faced were not minor either. In the previous year, the school discovered that errors in financial aid over the past 20 years had cost them upwards of $50 million. Because of this, they had to lay off over 20% of the faculty and staff. Birmingham Southern College was risking losing their accreditation. But Krulak had never allowed an uphill challenge to deter him in the past, and he was not about to start now.
But my wife and I went out there, and we toured the campus, and she said, boy, this is the place. And I said, what are you talking about? She says, this is it. This is where we got to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present the President and First Lady of Birmingham Southern College, General Charles Krulak, and his wife of 46 years, Zandy Myers Krulak.
Thank you very much. Please. Thank you. The same comment I made to the people at the bank was the comment I made to the leadership team at Birmingham Southern. You know, I've never been a college president. You're going to have to help me.
Immediately upon arrival, everyone took notice of Krulak's incredible leadership ability. As a result, positive change started to occur. Birmingham Southern fell back into compliance, maintaining its accreditation and saving itself from ultimate demise. But these things happened behind the scenes. The most impressive part about Krulak's time at Birmingham Southern is how accessible and involved someone of his stature was in the campus community.
I think that every single student on that campus knew that I was there to do the best job I could, that we were going to have successes and we were going to have failures. But at no time did any of them think that I didn't love them to death and that I really cared about them.
General Krulak is really a servant leader. He goes after students and he pursues them with a heart to serve them.
I was really interested in getting into the military, and I knew General Krulak was the commandant, so I figured, you know, I probably should go talk to him. I walk into his office and he sits me down, and you know, we just start going through options. I think like a year later, I had Marine Corps OCS in Quantico, finished that up, and you know, I stay in pretty much constant contact with General Krulak about stuff. Very rare, especially coming from the Marine Corps, that you would have a 5-star general's number in your phone, but I have his number in my phone. It just shows the character and how much he actually cares about individual people.
One of my favorite stories about General Krulak is him coming into the soccer office here at Birmingham Southern and sitting down and just propping his feet up on our desk and asking about our families, the soccer team, particular players, how they were doing in school and on the field, and even his willingness to call a recruit that we were trying to land. And I'm thinking to myself, is this real? You know, this man is the former commandant of the Marine Corps and member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. This man has counseled presidents, and here he is in our office talking soccer.
You know, he has such a background that you feel intimidated to go talk to him. And he was one of the most, you know, open people that you could ever meet in the world. Like, you could just go to his office and be like, hey, you know, I'm struggling with this, or hey, like, I would really like to talk to you. And he's just so open to talk to you.
He epitomizes the we're in this together approach.
You know, whoever you are, and whenever he is talking to you, it's like you're the most important person, and what you have going on in your life is the most important thing that in his world.
He was accessible to everyone. I think the man only slept like 2 hours a night. He was always out there. He was dealing with students. He was the Energizer Bunny.
General Krulak quite often spent time with us on the sideline of our soccer games, and there was one game where the referee came over and asked me, you know, who this gentleman was and if I could ask him to calm down a little bit and stay inside the coaching area. And I told him it's General Krulak and he's the president of our college, and if you want him to calm down, you can kind of tell him yourself.
These testimonials from members of the Birmingham Southern community are the same types of things that people have said about Krulak everywhere he has been. The consensus being that he has an uncanny ability to connect with people on a deeply personal level unlike anyone else. A man of his success in a wide range of fields is unquestionably a one-of-a-kind leader. But what exactly is this leadership style that has helped him down the road to success?
I am convinced that if you as a leader display a character, that you're selfless, that you have great moral courage, and then you're a person of integrity, I think that when you exude that, people will buy into your program. They may not agree with everything, and when they don't, if you've got the courage to seek their input and they give it to you and you respond to it, then it's going to be okay. So when people keep on asking me, well, you know, you did this in the military and that, and, you know, how did you change your style? The answer was, I didn't change. I think that if you start to change, you're going to be seen as a phony. I mean, what's this all about? You can't fake it. You can pretend to care, but you can't pretend to be there. They're going to know whether you're there or not. At the end of the day, though, if you don't care for the people, you're not going to be a winner. You're not going to be successful. That you've got to be a man or a woman of character. They've got to look at you and say, this person's for real. He's genuine. He treats me with respect. He treats me with dignity. He cares about me. And you do the best you can, and I think people will respect that.